with our staff. We do have some new additions. We're going to review the culmination requirements. We're going to go through the actual checklist, what the culmination portfolio is going to look like, culmination appeals process, upcoming events, and then last, we're going to do attendance and questions. So you might recognize a lot of these faces, and some faces may seem new. We have Dr. Geneva Matthews, our principal. She has been here for a while, so you probably recognize her. Miss Lauren Medlin, she's our assistant principal, who's currently out on maternity leave. We have Danny Chrysalis, he's our Dean of Student Culture. And we have Mr. Javier Flores. He's actually stepped in as assistant principal in residence while Miss Medlin is out, but he will also be sticking around after Miss Medlin returns. So he will also be assisting us for this school year. And then myself, Miss Ray, school counselor. And then we have our 8th grade teaching team. So we have Mr. Wester for English and History, Mr. Ponciano for Science, Mr. Millage for English and History, and Ms. Chong for Math. And then we have our office staff, Ms. Chanel Paxton, our parent community liaison, Ms. Gloria Richmond, she is our new office manager this year, Mr. Russell Bennett, he's our campus engineer, Mr. Luis Diaz, he is our office coordinator, and one of our new faces is Miss Annalise Castillo. She is our student services coordinator. And our specialty team. So we have Miss Coco for Games and Movement, Miss Tashonda for Green Ambassadors, Miss Soraya for College Readiness, Miss Yasi for Handwork, and Miss Randolph for our other Games and Movement teacher. Okay, now let's get started with the nitty gritty. So, culmination requirements. We're gonna start first with academics. So, all students in order to culminate will be required to achieve a 2.5 core GPA and a 2.5 specialty GPA. The reason we separate this is because we wanna make sure that students don't just get all A's in core and leave specialty behind. So both need to be met at a 2.5. We also require that students complete their IBM project. It's a big project that they do every year. It's going to be around Q3 this year. So it's really important that they participate and do their best on that project. And last, participation in class, making sure they're attending, participating, engaging in class. Our next requirement is discipline. So we expect students to be in their best behavior. We are a restorative justice school, so we do give opportunities to repair situations, but we still ask that students get no more than 3 referrals in the school year. That if they get more than 3 referrals, that's loss of end of year activities. And then if they have 4 or more, they can result in losing participation in culmination. Bullying, dehumanizing of any kind, inappropriate behavior, language, fighting, anything like that will result in an automatic referral. And that goes for social media use too. If students are doing any cyberbullying, anything like that, we are going to take that very seriously and have conversation, and it could possibly result in a referral. So make sure to please, 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 none of that, students. Like, it's not tolerated. We don't want that to be a part of our culture on campus. And then if it's a major violation, like super, super, super major violation, it doesn't matter how many referrals you have, you can lose the culmination participation. So you want to make sure, you know, I know there's like TikTok challenges, things going on. We've addressed it during school. None of that. Please don't do that. Not only is it going to result in a referral, but it's also not good for our campus. It can make it an unsafe space for students. And the next culmination requirement is attendance. So attendance cannot exceed 10 unexcused absences for the school year. All right, so it's really, really, really important, unexcused. So if you're out because you're sick and it's excused, or a situation with COVID exposure, things like that. We know that that situation can happen this school year. We're very well aware. Unexcused absences means like you just don't show up and we don't have a note or any kind of excuse for the day. But we are being very, very, very sympathetic to situations, and we understand that this is a difficult time still. We're not 100% back to normal. So just try your best to make sure you attend school, that you're on time, and you should be fine. But also attendance to the virtual high school fair in October. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later when we go over events, but the high school fair is happening again this year. And so you need to make sure you attend. You're gonna need to attend 4 high school presentations. That is another part of your requirements. So keep that on your radar. October, that's coming up. And again, I know I'm going through a lot and I'm going kind of quickly, but we are going to be going over the questions at the end. So we'll open it up and everyone can ask questions. Again, if you're a Spanish speaker, I apologize. Our Spanish presentation had to be rescheduled, but you're welcome to stay and ask questions. Okay, so the portfolio itself has the main components of an electronic submission of 5 high school applications, and a community service reflection, and activities that you need to participate for community service. So those are the main things: community service, an essay, and the applications. Now, there is going to be a Google Classroom set up to turn in the essay and the proof of high school applications. Proof can be email confirmations of the applications that are submitted, photos, anything that shows proof that you applied to 5 schools. And the reason why we ask for 5 schools, you might be wondering, well, why do I gotta apply to 5? The reason why is because we wanna make sure that all opportunities are open, and that if you don't get into some of the schools that you really wanna get into, you still have other options, backup options. So we ask that students apply to 5. And if you apply to a school like Da Vinci that has 3 different campuses and you want to apply to all 3, that counts as 3 applications. But I recommend apply to as many as you'd like. Really and truly, if there's schools in the area and you want to apply to most of them, do it, because you're going to have a lot of options, and you might find that, you know what, this school is actually going to work out better, and I would prefer my student to attend. If you have questions about the high school applications, you can message me later or at the end ask. But the high school fair is really going to help with identifying some schools that you would be interested in and giving you information on the enrollment process. So here's the checklist. It's kind of everything I went through, and this is something that your student is going to receive along with the community service form that they're going to fill out when they do their hours. We're also going to do like a workshop for students to go over these more in depth so that they know what they're doing, so they can stay on track. But basically, like I mentioned before, the 2.5 GPA in core and in specialty, completion of IBMs, 5 high school applications, completion of 5 hours of community service, the community service reflection essay, fewer than 4 disciplinary referrals, only 10 unexcused absences, again, unexcused, attendance of the virtual high school fair presentations, 4 of them, and submission of the checklist that will be shared on the Google Classroom. Oh, and here are the tiers for culminating. So a student who is on track to participate in the end of year activities, to participate in culmination, the student is meeting all requirements. Like nothing is being missed. Attendance is great. High school applications turned in. They're on track with their community service. Everything's being checked. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes a student is missing 1 or 2 things. A student that is on academic probation or not meeting one of the culmination requirements, the student will have the opportunity to culminate and participate if they show progress. But they still do have to do an application of appeals. There is going to be an appeals process, and we will share that with families later on. But basically, it's a process where you apply to say why you didn't meet a requirement, what was the circumstance, and we really review those very heavily. Like we take those into consideration. We really want to make sure we do everything with equity. But your best bet is to stay on track. Like don't count on the appeals process. Really try your best to stay on track. And then last is a tier 3. A student who is at tier 3 is not on track to culminate. Like they're missing a lot of stuff. And the student is on academic probation, but has not shown any progress. Additionally, the student did not meet additional culmination requirements, but they can still apply for the appeal. So it's not completely out of reach, but it'll just be really, really hard. And the appeals process, the student will need to complete an electronic application of appeal. The application will be reviewed, and the student will be notified if they were approved to move forward with the appeals process. If the student is approved for the appeals process, they will need to complete projects based on the requirements. Again, we don't have all those details on like what kind of projects or what kinds of things they'll do specifically for that appeals. We're working on that, but that's just an overview of what they'll do. And then they will have to submit all projects prior to a hearing. So it's going to be a full-on hearing that students have to do and present their case for why they didn't meet that. The student and their parent will be invited for an appeal hearing that is scheduled sometime in May. And then the student will be notified if they can attend any end of year activities or culmination by May 31st. And lastly, upcoming events. So upcoming events, like I mentioned earlier, October is high school fair month. So every Tuesday in the month of October, between 4 and 6, families will have the opportunity to attend a virtual event that will be hosted by a variety of high school representatives. Students are required to attend at least 4, but it's strongly recommended that if you can, attend even more. I know with work schedules, sometimes it's difficult to attend these things, but if there's even just one night that you can make it to a couple presentations with your student, please, please, please try and do that. It's really great information that the school shared. But students, you have to attend at least 4 or more. That is definitely part of your requirement, and it's important information for you. There will be a workshop of some sort for the portfolio and to go in depth over all of the requirements that students have. Then in April 22nd, that's when everything is due, all the community service, all the reflection essays, the IBMs by then will be done. Everything will be turned in, and that's when we'll get an idea if your student's on track. The appeals process window will open in May. So if your student isn't on track, that's when they'll have that opportunity. And then in June is culmination. It's going to be the last week of school. We don't have information about that yet, but as soon as we do, we will share that all with you. I'm going to pause here because that was like a lot, and I'm used to pausing for Spanish translation. So I want to, before we get into attendance, just briefly pause and ask if there's any questions now. We went through that fairly quickly, and I want to give that opportunity first before we take attendance to see if there are any questions. I know it was fast, and I apologize. We're used to pausing for questions, but we decided to do it at the end.
There's a question in the Q&A. It says, what is the IBM?
Okay, that is your interdisciplinary benchmark. That's a project that is done at the, I believe it's going to be in Q3, Mr. Crisales, if I'm not mistaken. And that is a big project that students do. 6th graders might recall projects happening, but back when they were on campus, I don't think we did them last year.
Yeah, 8th graders, it's been a while since you've done IBM. It's a massive project where all of your class content, so math, history, science, and English, including your specialties, come together. You present or create something. I don't know if y'all see my cat Roman in the background. And there's a written piece. So it's a big, massive project. It's going to be second semester. You'll get some information maybe next quarter going into winter break, but most of it is going to be in second semester. So stand by for that.
There's another question in the Q&A. It says, do you have to keep a 2.5 GPA for every quarter?
Yes, it's really important to keep that 2.5 every quarter. If something happens where your GPA falls a little low, like we'll discuss it and we'll see if you're on track, but overall cumulative, at the end of the year, it needs to be 2.5 or higher. You really need to make sure you're shooting for that 2.5, and in specialty as well. Specialty counts too.
If for any reason in a quarter you fall below the 2.5, it's not the end of the world, okay? That just means the following quarter, you have to try it that much harder to ensure that your grade is above a 2.5. That's right, so do the math, you average it out. If you're at a 2.3, that means you have to get a 2.7 next quarter to get at least that 2.5. So it's not the end of the world, just know that you do have a little bit of a higher cliff to climb if for any reason you're below that 2.5 threshold.
And I also want to mention, I know we went really quickly through the requirements. That's because you're going to get all of this in class. Like, you don't have to capture this all now. It isn't really like dire that you take this down and you won't see it again. This is just to briefly go over it, but you will get like handouts. There's going to be a checklist given to you in class. There's going to be a digital one that you can access in the Google Classroom. All these requirements are going to be discussed in person, in depth, for all students. College readiness will have workshops throughout the year, so don't worry if you didn't catch everything now. Also, the presentation is going to be shared with you.
Also, I wanted to share on our website, there's a drop down. It's called Class of 2022, I believe. And if you go on our website, it has information for 8th grade culmination and things like that, whatever information we have available for 8th grade families. And this presentation will be there as well. You have another question. It says, for Da Vinci, when you're applying for one of the schools, are you going to have to take a test to get into that high school?
I don't know about a test specifically for Da Vinci. I haven't heard of anything like that. I'm trying to get them as an addition as one of the presenters. I know someone that works over there, so we're going to see if we can get them on this year since we didn't have them last year. But I will try and find out, and if that is the case, they will share it. But historically, I haven't heard of Da Vinci having a test.
I can speak really quickly about Da Vinci. I don't think there's any sort of test for Da Vinci, but there is a lottery, and it's really tough to get into that school. So I know we mentioned if you apply to 3 of their schools, that counts as 3 applications for us, but it's really difficult getting into that school. So if you apply for all of their schools, it's a big chance that you might not get into any of them. So I would encourage you, if you want to apply for Da Vinci, go for it. It's a great school, but also look into some other schools as well.
I know
community.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Ms. Ray.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna drop the link for attendance in just a minute. I know some students need to get over to the MESA meeting. So while you're answering questions, Annie, I'll get that link for them.
Sounds good. A few questions on community service. The community service information will be provided. It doesn't have to be just at home. We're also asking for some at home, some at school. This could be easy things like lunch cleanup, supporting a teacher with cleaning up or organizing their paperwork, the classroom. So the type of community service, it can be anything as long as they're doing some volunteer work that's creating some improvement and growth in whatever aspect that they're supporting with, whether it be at home or at school. What we're gonna provide is a handout where students write in the date of the community service, brief synopsis of what community service participation they did or what work they completed, how long, because we want to track those minutes, and then the actual adult supervision signature of any individual that was there that received that support. All this is going to be given to students, so don't panic about trying to figure it out now. We wanted to give an overview for now, and that's the way that it's going to go. Additionally, what is the high school fair? The high school fair is just where all neighboring high schools come and just give you information about their schools, tell you about how to apply, give you just things about sports, clubs, activities, academics, size, any supports that they provide. That way you get a better idea of which schools are going to be work best for you and the ones that you're interested in. And by when do you have to apply to high schools? Depends on the high school. If there's a high school you really want to go to, look at their website, make some calls, because the due dates are different. There are some where due dates are in November. There are others where due dates are in February. So the reason we do this now is to ensure that you can get a heads up and have a good opportunity to hop into the top 3 options that you have for high schools. And there's another, will there be tutoring this year? Tutoring is already part of your class. Tuesday, Thursdays, you have Achievement Academy. That is your tutoring time. So not only are you going to be getting some additional work in your class, some of you that may need different levels of support, or you have some like questions specifically about certain parts of math, science, English, reading, whatever it may be, you're going to be pulled out and get some additional intentional support there. So we're trying to limit the amount of time you're staying after school, because it's already part of your everyday morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 to 8:30. So that's at least 1 hour of additional support every week that you're getting academically.
The attendance link was shared in the chat. Students need to fill that out. It is recording your student email. So it's important that students, you are here, you make sure that you are on your student email. If you're not, I'm not really sure. I don't have a way to edit that because it does record emails. That's why I made that announcement in advisory to please log in. You can chat me privately if for any reason it's not letting you, and I can see if I can send you the link, or you can send me an email right now. And then that way I can at least record. But if you're logged in, it should allow you to do that, because we are recording emails to ensure students are logged in and actually attending for that purpose. I think there's another question in Spanish.
Yeah, rescheduling of the Spanish one. So I sent a chat.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Again, we're really sorry about the technical difficulties today, and we really apologize, but we're here for any questions you have. So you feel free to let us know if you think of something after, or you look through the presentation later and you're like, oh, I'm not sure what that is. Feel free to message me or let me know.
Rebecca has a question.
Hi, Rebecca. Oh.
She said, never mind.
She wasn't expecting to be put on video.
Okay. Please have, it's okay if you're not able to sign in. Just have your student, if you're the student, please email me and let me know you attended. Did we already answer this one? It says, is there a day where you have to apply for ECHS? I don't think we answered that one.
Do we have that date?
We don't have all the dates. A lot of schools are actually working on their dates right now that I found out. So ECHS, I don't know yet. They are actually going to be one of the first schools presenting for Lawndale and Gardena. So as soon as we get that date, we'll share it with all of you. But I don't have any information yet on their window of enrollment yet. It's pretty early. We're doing this very, very early. So a lot of schools are like, oh, you're already signing up for a high school fair. Yeah, because we want to make sure we get all of these schools signed up so they can give that information to you without any scheduling conflicts. So we're going to get that list soon.
I will say for ECHS, it's usually towards the end of February or the beginning of March, just to give you a ballpark. It's around the same time as ours. If that
it is a lottery though. So yes, like we're still a partner school, but there is a lottery system. So the faster you apply, the better. And February and March is usually where the lottery comes out. So you find out if you're in or not. So don't wait until February or March to send the application. So once we know when it's open, we'll send it out, send it immediately. Even if it's not your first choice. This is why we ask for 5, because we don't know. You don't know where you're going to fall on the wait list, lottery system, whatever it may be. So get 5 of those in. Find 5 schools that you're interested in and apply to them. Choices are important. It's also a life lesson. Always have choices. Don't bank on just one. Always have choices.
Liliana has a question. She wants to know, for each virtual high school meeting in October, is there going to be someone keeping track that our kids are joining them to get credit? Will there be an attendance link or something for the high school fair, Ms. Ray?
Yes, so it'll be the same. I believe last year we had a link and they fill it out. They usually, it's sent out after the first presentation. So if students don't want to attend like all of them that night, like let's say Bright Star, ECHS, and another school are presenting, but you only want to attend Bright Star, we'll give that link so that you can fill it in. We ask that you type in the name of the school so that way we verify like you were there. But yes, it will be tracked same way. Really highly recommended that you do it on a laptop, the student laptop. All students should have a laptop by now logged in, so that you don't have any discrepancies with the with the attendance links. I understand sometimes it just doesn't work out. You have to go somewhere and you're doing it on your phone. That's okay. We'll work it out. Like today, just send us a message, or I'm jotting down names too. So if you're unable to do that, then we'll make sure to track it.
For those of you asking when the Spanish meeting is going to be, we don't know yet because we had it for today and technical issues happened. So once we find out the best date and time, we're going to send it out like we normally do. Talking points, parent letter, student letter, the whole shebang and bang. So expect something happening next week, or at least information for next week. There was a question about if we have a sibling at the other high school, either Lawndale or Gardena, does it help? Yes, it does help. So when the application is ready and when you submit it, there's going to be a question like if you have a sibling, you mark yes, put the name of your sibling, and you're good to go.
The links for high schools, we're gonna have a recommended list with links, but you can just Google too, like find the different schools you want to apply to, and they tend to have an area where it says enroll, and then you can click the link. I do have a form, like a one-sheeter that has like the direct links to those websites that I'm working on updating, but I don't have all the due dates. I can share that anyway. I just need to finish updating, so you'll get that soon. But if you have a school that you know, like you want to start applying to now, you can check out their websites and see what their enrollment windows are pretty much now. A lot of them say like from October to January or something like that.
And just so you know, Da Vinci is like an organization of schools, similar to environmental charter. We're an organization of schools. So there was a question on what is Da Vinci. Da Vinci is just a school system. It's an organization of charter schools. They're available depending on the preference. So if you look up Da Vinci schools, you'll see the options that they have and the locations that their campuses are at.
Any other questions?
I think to make things easier, if you weren't able to email, please type in the chat your student's full name. You can send it just to the panelists. So I'm going to mark them down. I don't think, I see a lot of students, most students that were here did the form, which is great. But for the few of you that said you're having trouble, if you weren't able to do the form, I'll mark you down. Thank you. Will there be an 8th grade field trip or class picnic? We're not sure yet about the activities, truthfully, with safety and all the things that we're trying to navigate right now. We haven't really brainstormed that. You know, historically, we have like things that we plan way ahead of time and we have it set and we let students know there's packages, things they can purchase. But right now, because things keep changing so quickly, we don't want to plan for something in the spring and then something else happens. So as it gets closer and we know things are being lifted and things are getting better, we will plan for something. We do hope to have activities for the end of the school year. We just don't know what that's going to look like quite yet. It's still pretty early on.
We're at least trying to plan a day trip where there'll be at least a day trip where you leave in the morning, come back later. TBD, we don't want to say any more yet because we want to make sure it happens before we say that something's going to end. But we're trying to plan at least a day trip for every class.
Are there any other questions or concerns about anything 8th grade related? Hi, Joelle. Yes, I'll send it. Again, this information is going to be shared with your student. They're going to get a paper version of the checklist, as well as in the Google Classroom once it's set up. So they'll have it on there. They're also going to get a live paper community service form. And so they should be getting that sometime next week in their advisory class so they can get started. Some students have already finished community service. I've talked to students, and all they'll need to do is fill it out and get it signed. Any students here that did summer bridge, you are done. So great job. We'll fill that out together and I'll sign off on it. But for any students that haven't done community service yet and want some ideas, we can chat and I'll give some examples in class. There's things you can actually probably do on campus. You can maybe even help me out. So we'll brainstorm, but there will be also a list of examples. So no sweat, you have some time to do that. We just want you to get thinking about it now, get started with some ideas. So that way you're not waiting to the last minute to complete those hours, because that's the worst when you have to do them all in one day and you're struggling to figure out what it is. We want you to have time. Yes, community service is part of the culmination requirements. It is required. It is 5 hours though. So not too much, not too crazy. I have students that do that in like one Saturday. Sometimes they'll go volunteer at, like, in the past, before the pandemic, they said that they went to like the animal shelter and just help clean up. I don't know if there's what the options are right now, but you can call around now if you want to. I'm also going to try and find out if there's areas that students can go. We just want to make sure students are safe. So whatever you choose to do, just make sure it's